In this week's breakdown, we will be looking at the career of professional skateboarder Leo Romero. Leo has formed a career around skating some of the largest handrails and hubbas across the many video parts he's had over the years. Early on in his career, Leo rode for and had video parts and foundations That's Life, as well as having a part in Transworld's First Love. After leaving Foundation Skateboards, Leo had a part in Baker Has a Death Wish. When it comes to footwear, Leo has rode for America for quite a while and has been featured in their videos Stay Gold and Made. Leo currently rides for Toy Machine Skateboards, with the most recent few parts being for the brand with brainwash and programming injection. Leo has had quite a few cameos and tricks in Friends sections or montages, but for today's breakdown, we will be examining footage from full parts. Leo is the co-founder of Bro Style Grip Tape, as well as performing in the band Travsura. But perhaps Leo's biggest achievement, one few have had the honor of winning, is being awarded Thrasher Magazine's Skater of the Year in 2010. Now, let's take a look at the stats of Leo Romero. Welcome to YouTube Pro Skater Stats. We all played the Tony Hawk video games when we were young, but have you ever wondered what a professional skateboarder's stat points would be in real life? In this video breakdown, we will be taking a closer look into the video parts and tricks that define careers, and see if we can assign stat points to 10 categories that cover a broad spectrum of skateboarding. To get started, we will first be looking at the rail stat point. Rail will be a blanket term to cover multiple types of obstacles, including flat bars, handrails, shootout rails, and various others. Leo could be titled as a handrail skater, and no one would bat an eye. Leo is exceptionally good at handrails. 8 stairs with flip-in tricks, 20 stair rails, or even kinked rails all are skated with proficiency. There is some lacking in terms of technical skating, with most of the rails being likely very hard to skate, and thus, basic tricks are more than suitable, with rails often being quite tall or long. There is some repetition with trick selection across various parts, but the spots always differ quite a bit, and sometimes a nose grind down a big rail looks good even if you've seen it before. Overall, Leo gets an 8 out of 10 for rail. Next, we will be looking at the ledge stat point. Ledge will cover a multitude of obstacles including flat ledges, shootout ledges, hubbas, as well as various others. Leo does have a good selection of ledge tricks across various video parts, from ledge lines to gap to ledges, but the strength in his skating lies in the hubba spots showcased. Although tricks on these are somewhat basic, the spots are more than likely very hard to skate, as almost all of them look tall or are relatively large in general. Leo does showcase some technical ledge skating, but it's less common. Skaters often mix certain stats together in a great way, like the previous Mike Moe and switch/ledge/gap all overlapping, Leo mixing pop and rail ledge. Leo gets a 6 out of 10 for ledge. The next stat point we will be looking at is manuals. Leo does have a few manual tricks here and there, and they are all tasteful and done well, but relatively simple. The nose manual with the death drop fits the part well, and shows you a side of skating that is quite rare but great to see. With only a few notable examples, and the tricks being relatively basic, Leo gets a 3 out of 10 for manual. Now we will be taking a look at the stat point representing flip tricks. Flip tricks will cover flat ground, as well as gap skating. Leo skates gaps quite often throughout various video parts, relying mostly on basic tricks and the fundamentals. Frontside and backside flips, some nollie flip variations, but that's about the extent. Although somewhat basic, the gaps are decent in length and the tricks always look great. There are some switch gap tricks in the mix as well, with some switch frontside flips and even a switch trick. Leo doesn't really do a lot of flat ground tricks and parts, sticking mostly to the basics. Leo gets a 4 out of 10 for flip tricks. The next stat point we will be taking a closer look at is balance. Examples of balance would be holding long grinds or long manual tricks. Rail and balance often go hand in hand. Leo shows a perfect demonstration of this, with some of the best balance displayed in skateboarding. Some of the rails Leo grinds require an incredible amount of balance. The majority of grinds in general are usually performed on longer handrails. Leo does have the occasional long ledge trick as well, but mostly 50/50s or 5/0s on rails. Leo gets a 7 out of 10 for balance. This next stat point we will examine is transition. Transition can be anything from DIY spots, mini ramps, bowls, or even vert if the skater uses a trick in their part. With the way Leo skates ledges and rails, Leo could probably skate transition very well if he made the effort to do so, and probably can. But sticking to the source material, not much is shown to give a higher score. Leo gets a 1 out of 10 for transition. This stat point represents the speed at which the skater tends to skate at, although this is possibly the hardest to truly measure, as angles, spots, and tricks all play a major part in the way someone skates. Leo skates flat ground, flat ledges, and flat gaps less often than some professional skaters, but more than makes up for it with the over-the-top level of speed on the majority of these spots. Leo pushes, even when enough speed is probably readily available, not to mention the plethora of gap-to-rails in almost every part Leo has that require an insane amount of speed to perform without falling short. Leo actually skates comically fast in some of his lines. Leo has set the bar for speed and gets an 8 out of 10. Now we will look at the stat point for pop. Examples are notable tricks over tables, tall ledges, or rails that require you pop high without the ability to gap out. At first glance, some might not consider Leo Romero to have a lot of pop, an attribute often relished by ledge skaters, but this could not be further from the truth. Some of the ledges and rails Leo skates across various video parts actually look impossible to get onto, and require an insane level of pop and control. Many of the flat bar spots Leo skates are handicap rails that are likely waist high, and often angled up, requiring even more pop than the initial lock-in. This is also true with one of Leo's most notable tricks, grinding up a handrail. That is not small, by the way. Leo gets an 8 out of 10 for pop. The next stat point is switch. Switch will represent all other stances a skater can ride their board, including fakie and nollie. Leo does skate in his native regular stance the majority of the time, with a good mix of nollie tricks down rails and gaps, the occasional switch trick on just about everything, and some fakie rail tricks in the mix. Leo seems to prefer nollie the most, with some great nollie frontside and backside heel and flips in most parts, but also plenty of good switch rail tricks like a 270 lip. Fakie seems to be the least common, with only a handful of tricks, but all are done very well. Leo gets a 6 out of 10 for switch. The final stat we will be looking at is creative. Creative is meant to represent the approach skaters take, the trick selection they utilize, and the spots skaters film tricks on. When it comes to creativity, Leo's skating is pretty straightforward, and although you know you're going to be amazed, you mostly know what to expect as well. Where Leo does deserve credit, however, is the spot selection he chooses to use in video parts. Many of the rails that appear in video parts are likely all over the country, with some never being skated before. So even if you've seen the trick performed, you have likely not seen it go down on that rail. Leo's most creative skating is his combination of pop and rail, grinding up handrails. Leo was one of the first to grind up a rail that many considered impossible, or never even thought about it at all. Not many skaters to this day are capable of doing such a thing. Leo gets a 3 out of 10 for creative. With Leo approaching 40 years old and still going strong, judging by the way he's currently skating, there are likely several strong projects on the horizon that will completely change the scope of this whole video, but only time will tell. Overall, Leo gets a combined 54 out of 100 total stat points, putting him currently at the number 2 spot overall, just slightly behind current leader Mike Moe, while having some strong rail, ledge, pop, and speed stats. Due to the lack of transition and manual skating holds Leo back from having a higher overall score. Only time will tell where they will end up as we continue to deep dive skaters across different generations and eras. All views and opinions are meant solely for entertainment and are not meant to truly represent the skaters featured in the videos. Skateboarding is way too complex to represent in any written way. If you watch a video part and get stoked to skate, that's all that matters. Leave a comment below for what professional skateboarder you would like to see next. See you next week.